You see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
This is ESPN 1025 The Game. From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa
I appreciate that.
and other smart speakers. 1025 and 1063
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game. Second flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willy Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome in. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game. We are streaming on the Game Nashville app as well. Chase McCabe, Willy Donick here with you. Derek Mason with the day off. He's back with us tomorrow, moving his son to Beantown, but he will join us at noon for Silly Underdog Picks, and we will have to get his thoughts as well as Chris Sanders' thoughts on the newest Titans acquisition. Adam Schefter is reporting that the Titans will sign wide receiver Josh Gordon to their practice squad, and thus the workout that was reported yesterday, I guess, went well. So the former Chief, Brown, Seahawk, wherever else he's played, is now going to be with the Tennessee Titans. Don't know what that means for week one. We know they signed Golden Tate last year to the practice squad. He never played a game with the Titans, so it could certainly be that. But Willie, certainly big news to kick off the show that Josh Gordon, who is a very, very talented receiver that has just had some off-the-field struggles with marijuana, he looks like he's going to be a Titan, at least on the practice squad.
Yeah, you asked me about him yesterday, and I just kind of shrugged it off.
We both dismissed it.
I don't think so. Yeah. I said just doesn't feel like that would be something. But here they are. They're going to give him a shot. I asked you guys. I can't remember if we've had the revolving door of all of us on vacation, but I asked about Josh Gordon because I thought maybe in the absence of Tyreek Hill that Josh Gordon might find a role on the Chiefs, and that didn't happen. So,
well,
it's a we'll see. Like there's no risk involved.
No,
he is who he is. He's where he is in his career. This could be Eric Moulds, could be Andre Johnson, and it could be maybe you catch lightning in a bottle and he helps you. This is a complete X factor unknown, but the way I would characterize it is you got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he has not been Flash Gordon in a long time. Came into the league in 2012, with Cleveland, obviously, came on the scene, 805 yards, had his best year in his second year, close to 1,700 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. But then that's when all the problems started. I mean, the next year he only played 5 games. He was suspended for 2 years. He comes back in 2017, plays 5 games, and gets suspended again or hurt, I can't remember. And then that's just when he started moving around. Played for New England, played for Seattle, Kansas City last year, only 32 yards receiving on 5 receptions. So he's definitely, I don't look at this as they're bringing him in to be the go-to guy. I think he's honestly just a body right now. But if you can get any semblance of what he used to be at 31 years old, then you'll take it. And it's a low-risk, high-reward thing. But the thing that pops out to me is this is not a John Robinson type move, because I don't feel like he has – now, has he missed on some guys where some stuff has come out and, draft picks specifically? Yeah. But typically a guy that has had some off-the-field stuff, you haven't really seen him get near. And so this is interesting. Now, his is substance abuse. His is marijuana. It's well documented what his problems are.
And to me, there's a big distinction of if it's just marijuana.
Right.
I think that's a way different thing than it was when he was missing 2 entire years. Because back then, everybody was like, you can't drop the marijuana in order to play. You have to do it. Now, the rules are different.
It's not as big of a deal now.
Yeah.
And so
the laws are different.
Laws are different.
And the rules are different. So, and he's older. I don't know. I'm willing to just that singular issue. And I don't know if that's the only issue. I have not done my homework on what he's been going through. I haven't really thought about him a whole lot. I guess the last time I really was paying much attention to him was when he was with the Patriots, and even that was 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So where is he in his life? Is he found some peace? Is he, more mature? Let's hope. I mean, I think that he must have shown something at that tryout for them to say, okay, let's give this guy a shot. But let's be honest, it's been, if you're being kind, it's been 5 years since he's been relevant at all.
Right.
Right? I mean, 2019, 426 yards, is that really, that was in 11 games, 15.8 yards per catch. I guess you could say he was relevant then, but that's iffy. And so the year before that would be the one.
But when you take that though, like with
where the thing about him
set up
is his career yards per catch. Career yards per catch is 17 yards. He can get down the field if he can still do that. And again, can he still do that? He didn't play at all in 2020.
Clearly, they saw enough to make them think that he could.
Yeah, and look, even if he gives them 5 good games, I'd take that.
Sure.
They're not going to break the salary cap by putting him in there. So we come back to, what do you have to lose? There's nothing wrong with trying this.
No.
We have been saying for years they don't really have a guy who successfully stretches the field it puts any kind of fear in the defense of, wow, we could get beat. Now this is 30. Now you said he's 32. I think he's 31.
No, 31. I said 31.
Did you? Okay. So 31. If he can still get down the field, man, like Deshawn Jackson, we talk about it every year.
Yeah.
Somebody signs him even as he ages because he gets down the field, or at least up until last year. Right? I don't know where he is this year. But going back for the last few years.
He is a free agent.
And Josh Gordon, there's never been any question about why. He's a guy who can get down the field, but also he's a big guy, 6'3", 220. He's had the unbelievable. It's sad that he hasn't done more, right? For all intents and purposes, he should have been a guy we're talking about as a premier talent for a lot longer than has happened. But
it just wasn't.
If they can get the last bit of relevance here, and look, he could maybe he never makes off the practice squad. Maybe he's gone in a couple weeks, and
someday
we remember when they signed Josh Gordon. Remember that?
Do you think he's called up for game 1? because they.
I don't think they know. I don't think they know that right now. I think they got to see how he looks every day.
Yeah,
in practice.
John Robinson yesterday said that McMath will go to IR. Cody Hollister is going to go back to the active roster. So Josh Gordon will take Cody Hollister's place on the practice squad. Is how that will work. So they'll have 5 receivers available to them for game 1, which is fine. But I mean, I think if he has, if he's in here today, which I think they're off. I think Vrabel changed practice, so they won't actually practice. But if he's here through the weekend and practices next week and has a good week, he could be a game day elevation. Certainly could be.
I think we have to see what happens in practice. I'm not putting any expectations on this at all. But I do know this. I think if you're being fair, and this is going to be a question we asked today, is, okay, we've now watched the entire preseason unfold. It's time to play. It's time to game plan for the Giants. You have who you have on offense. You've got a completely different receiving core. How do you feel right now about the A.J. Brown trade? They had to make a quick, important decision with all the chips on the table. Are we staying with A.J. Brown? Are we going to pay him? Or we got a chance to trade him right now and get a first-round pick? Do we do it? And a third-round pick. They have Petit Frere, right? Because they made that pick. Is that right? You got that right? So I think so. They got 2 players who are going to play prominent roles instead of A.J. Brown. And you could probably argue maybe they don't have, for example, maybe they don't have an edge rusher. Maybe they wouldn't have had the money to re-sign Landry if they stayed with A.J. Brown. Or maybe they could have made it all work. I don't know. But they made a big, big decision when they had very little time. They had to decide on the day of the draft. But this offense does not have, as we look right now, a guy that strikes fear in the defense in the passing game. What does that mean? It's going to mean stacked boxes against Derrick Henry. That's already how they play him. That's how they played them when they had A.J. Brown. You can imagine what defenses are going to line up and do. And to take a flyer on Josh Gordon, who averages 17 yards a catch for his career, it's kind of a desperate move, but again, you're not throwing that much money at this.
No, this will be cheap.
Just throwing a chance, throwing a dime in the slot machine just to see what you get back.
Look, like I said,
but I mean, I think this is going to be something we talk about. Is can this offense make some dynamic plays through the air? Because there's only so much you can do when you've got to grind up and down the field. I don't think you can sit there and say Derrick Henry's going to run. I don't know if he's going to hit as many home runs as he's hit before. I think he can still be very effective. We discussed this yesterday. But how do you use him? How do you get the best out of him? But on paper, what does the offense lack? It's big play capability.
And if you get any of the old Josh Gordon, you're going to get
if you give me 5 games of that, I think it's a jackpot.
Yeah, I totally agree. So the Titans, they have not made this official yet, but Adam Schefter reporting that they will sign Josh Gordon to their practice squad. Cody Hollister going to be elevated to the active roster. Racey McMath to IR. So those are some of the moves that John Robinson is making. He did speak to the media yesterday. It was funny. He was asked about Josh Gordon, and, of course, he sidestepped it like you thought he would because he doesn't talk about guys that are just coming in for a tryout. But clearly it was enough that they're going to go ahead and make that move. So we'll take your reaction to that, 615-737-1025. That is our number. You can call or text, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll talk to Joel Corey from CBS Sports, former agent. Russell Wilson getting a contract extension. We'll get his thoughts on that. What does that mean for other quarterbacks around the league? We'll ask him about Josh Gordon. But before that, at 10:30, Ben Wright of Broadway Sports, a big night for Nashville SC last night, and one player in particular. So we will discuss that. But coming up next, we'll get into the Russell Wilson deal, what that means, and maybe could that affect Ryan Tannehill at some point in time? We'll discuss that coming up next. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic every Saturday morning at 9
I've got my extra large coffee.
as she talks about the big stories of the week
Predators news, the Tennessee Titans.
and looks ahead to the weekend.
Oh, I'm so excited.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Attention sports fans, your favorite sports book, BetUS.com, is back for their 28th year of NFL action with the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%. BetUS offered their members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite leagues, including NBA, NFL, MLB, and more. They've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest European slots, and their live dealers are waiting for you at the tables. You need a sport book with integrity and longevity, and you need to know that you will get paid. You need a sport book that offers everything, including live betting, MMA, golf, esports, horse racing, and all kinds of crazy bets. Call today at 1-800-79-BET-US. That's 1-800-79-BET-US, and they will walk you through setting up an account. Nobody in the industry gives better bonuses than BetUS. Join now. Mention 1025, and you can get up to 200% of bonuses on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. Head to BetUS.com and join today. That's BetUS, where the games begin.
Family Leisure is having a come out and play sale.
That's right. Family Leisure is inviting you to come out and play.
Family Leisure has hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. DIY pools start at only $16.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed.
More than 100 spas in stock and incoming, starting at only $29.99.
Hundreds of sets of patios in stock and on sale.
The Sabre infrared grill in stock and on sale at only $11.99. Come out and play at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungeringAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Listen to Stillman and Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
It's on. It's happening.
Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app. Every Monday at 6.
Back here at Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We're streaming on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook every day. Our video streaming presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We're broadcasting live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio. Chase McCabe, Willy Donick here with you. We'll talk some Nashville SC at the bottom of the hour with Ben Wright of Broadway Sports, but several news items today. Josh Gordon signing with the Titans practice squad. Russell Wilson gets a contract extension. We'll get to that in a second, but the wide receiver moves for the Titans. And those of you asking who has to leave the practice squad, Cody Hollister's coming to the active roster. He was on the practice squad. Racy McMath is going to IR. So Josh
they have
Gordon,
a spot.
They have a spot. So he will take that spot. But
and Andy on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says Gordon, even at 31, should have young legs from sitting out 2 years.
Yeah.
In theory, yes, but the
In
Chiefs
theory.
didn't think so.
No. I mean, he was there last year, and then he was the odd man out this year in camp.
The Chiefs, they lost Tyreek Hill. They had openings. They're redefining their roles. Without him, they've got a prolific passing offense. They had Josh Gordon, and they let him go. So his stock is low. I mean, let's not get our hopes up too much here, but you never know.
We will get into this more hot and heavy as the show goes on. But our poll question today, we'll put this on Twitter at 1025 The Game. You can also text in at 615-737-1025. It's very simple. Last chance. You can reverse the A.J. Brown trade. Do you do it? Yes or no? I'm very curious of the response here.
I want to see how people feel about it today.
Knowing what you know, knowing that Treylon Burks is not ready to be a number one, knowing that Robert Woods looked healthy, looks good, had a good camp.
Looks good.
Looks good. Nick Westbrook-Akine, looks good, had a good camp. But you're young. Kyle Phillips is young. Racey McMath looked like, he was making the roster, but now he's going to start the year on IR. And you just signed Josh Gordon, who hasn't been able to stay on the field for basically, his entire career. You've just signed him to the practice squad, and then you have Des Fitzpatrick, who 2 years in a row can't make the roster. He's on the practice squad. And Mason Kinsey is the other one. That's your receiving core right now. So yes or no, if you could reverse the A.J. Brown trade, do you do it? Going to be interested to see the responses there.
I think if you're talking about this year only, and this is what you brought this up the other day, and I think you're dead on. The Titans basically in the offseason there's a lot of different examples you can point to. They're playing for this year to a degree, but they're also playing for not having to blow it up and start over. They're playing that game, which is very similar to how the Predators have approached it. They're playing not to rebuild, but to transition, stay good. But the question is, can you win the Super Bowl with this group? Nobody thinks so. Let's be honest. The prognostications are coming out left and right. Nobody has the Titans in the Super Bowl picture. Most people don't have the Titans winning the division. I listened to the Ringer podcast today. They made their predictions. None of them have the Titans in the playoffs. None.
I believe it.
So that is the interesting thing as we point to this question. I think it would be different if they had A.J. Brown.
You want to know the early results?
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Am I wrong? If they had A.J. Brown on this roster, would they be predicted behind the Colts? I don't think so.
No. I agree with that. No.
So they're playing the long game here. With Burks, they're playing the long game. They didn't throw a lot of money at veteran players. They're going young in a lot of spots. They have left the contracts of Tannehill and Henry at a position to where they can get out of it after this year, which for the long term is smart money managing, cap management. But in the meantime, you're swallowing a huge cap hit on those two plus Bud Dupree, which means you didn't have that much money to spread around for other veteran help, that kind of thing, and you lost a young playmaking receiver in his prime. We all know the reasons for it, but it's kind of like stop now and take a look at the results as you sit here today. We're all optimistic that it can still work out, right? We like a lot of what we see from Treylon Burks. I don't know if he's going to light the world on fire week one, but I think he's got a chance to be a really good player. We'll see. A lot of the rookies look good.
Sure.
We like Haskins. We like Kyle Phillips. But when we're talking about trying to stay in the window and win right now, are they better without A.J. Brown? Not on paper. No. Most people don't think so. So would you do it over again? And if you could have a do-over in that moment, you're sitting there on draft day. Do I keep him? Do I trade him? Would you, if you could go back in time, knowing what you know now, would you do it all over again?
I wouldn't change anything.
You wouldn't change anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I think that everything that was going on with him was going to be detrimental to the locker room. I think that John Robinson thought that. I don't know if Mike Vrabel necessarily thought that. I think he understood it, but I don't know. I think Mike, and in some ways he's right. I think Mike thought he could control it and he could shield it. But ultimately, and look, I think Amy Adams-Strunk had a say in this too, that they felt that it was just going to be too detrimental to the rest of the team, and so they ultimately decided to move on. At 102.5 The Game, last chance you reverse the A.J. Brown trade, yes or no. 84.6% right now say no.
It's early. We'll see if that stays. And I would think with the team's record at 0-0, you are going to have the no's win, because I think people have bought in. They've bought into it. But I do wonder if we ask this question again, if the team is struggling after about five.
I want to ask this question again. Like week 8, see where they are in week 8, or the bye or wherever. Well, they got an early bye. I would ask it again.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So we want to hear your comments too. 737-1025. Call or text, but we want you to vote on the poll. But if you want to give detail on why you answered, I would love to hear your thoughts.
And we will continue to get to that as the show goes on. But some of the big news that hit this morning, Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos have agreed to a 5-year contract extension. According to multiple reports, the deal's reported to be worth $245 million. $165 million of that is guaranteed. That puts his total pay for the next 7 seasons at $296 million. So 33-year-old Russell Wilson, 5-year contract, $245 million. Joel Corey from CBS Sports is going to join us coming up at 11. We'll get his thoughts on that deal. But what do you think about that, and what does that mean for maybe some other quarterbacks in this league?
I was getting over my emotions from my daughter Evie. Hopped a plane this morning, going back to college. Derek's already up in Boston. My daughter goes to Northeastern, across town from where Derek's son DJ goes. Of course, DJ is a little bit older. He's a junior, so Derek's been through this. I'm sure it'll be a little emotional when Derek comes back. But so I'm sitting there, morning coffee, woe is me, had a little emotional moment there, separation at the airport, and then boom, this deal hits in real time as I'm watching the morning coverage. I'm looking at NFL Network. I'm reveling in the Mets win on MLB Network. I'm watching SportsCenter, and then there it is. So, guaranteed money. First of all, he didn't get the contract fully guaranteed, Russell Wilson. So that shouldn't surprise anybody. It's at this stage of his career. But everybody was wondering, with Deshaun Watson getting the fully guaranteed contract despite all of his circumstances, everybody thought that is a contract that throws everything out of whack. So that's the first thing. So they did not stay with the precedent. Number two, it now makes him the third highest paid quarterback. He gets more guaranteed money now than Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Russell Wilson. Okay, is he that good? No. But that's kind of where I'm going with it. He still had 2 years left on his deal.
But that's kind of where the market's at.
But he's 30. He's going to turn 34. He got drafted in the same year that Ryan Tannehill got drafted.
Yep.
Did they need to sign him for that long?
Probably not.
I mean,
I think they just look at it as they knew they probably were going to re-sign him at some point, and they wanted to get ahead of it before.
I guess
before some of the other deals. I mean, we all know Lamar Jackson's the next big one. That's the next big one to fall.
And that's what everybody pivoted to pretty quick. But before we get off the Broncos thing, just think about the chips they're putting to the table on Russell Wilson. They think they've got a pretty good team. They're playing in the deepest, toughest division in football. And they're betting on him still being Russell Wilson at his best. They're paying him as a premier quarterback as he enters his age 34 season. Enters. He's a guy that runs around.
Mm-hmm.
What makes him a great quarterback is his ability to move. If you look, this is kind of what we talked about with Derrick Henry. If you look at the metrics, the analytics, he's not quite what he was a few years ago at extending plays and making plays with his feet. He's still good, but how's he going to be over the next few years? The Broncos are betting that he's going to be really good, and he better be for that price. I think there's a little bit of a gamble here for him. Is he that good?
How do you look? Well, I'm going to ask it this way. How do you look at Tannehill? Do you think that with their same draft class, around the same age,
about the same age?
Obviously, Russell Wilson is in a different tier than Ryan Tannehill, but I think we all kind of sit here, and the narrative is this could be Ryan Tannehill's last year with the Titans because they drafted Malik Willis in the 3rd round. They're developing him. There's not as much pressure as there would be if he was a first-round pick. But
And the contract. They've set the contract up for this to be the last year.
The contract could dictate that too. But what if he does ball out? Like, is he playing for an extension?
Oh.
And that John Robinson may look at it that, hey, Henry aside, put Henry to the side here. But you have a receiving core that is young, that hypothetically could develop, and you could tweak that as you go. And if Tannehill plays at a high level, the level that he played at when he first took over as the starter here, do you sit there and go, well, maybe it is worth extending him, redoing the deal, giving him more money but making him our guy, and still knowing that you have Malik Willis that can be developed even more? Or do you think that the thought is, look, the contract's going to dictate, we're going to get out of it, we're going to turn the keys over to Willis at some point?
I think the beauty of where they are with the contract is they have the ability to keep him if he has a great year. Right. And then you can set it up for the price range that he deserves. You don't have to do anything. He's under contract for next year. You could just hold out if you wanted to. But I think the way the league works, if you're a good quarterback and you're coming off a good year, there's going to be a big market for you. Quarterbacks are expensive. Even tier 3 quarterbacks who are good, not great. There's a big market for those guys.
Coming up next, it was a big night at Geodis Park for Nashville SC and Hani Mukhtar specifically. We will talk to Ben Wright of Broadway Sports, get his thoughts on that. It's Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Titans on 3, 1, 2, 3. The Titans roster is now set at 53.
They knew about 50 of the 53 guys they were going to keep on their team.
As focus turns to the regular season.
Into the end zone. Titans touchdown.
What other tweaks can John Robinson and Mike Vrabel make?
You swap a 5th for a 7th, drop a couple spots in the draft 2 years from now.
Keep it locked here for Nashville's best Titans talk.
Very few people are picking the Titans to win the division.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Oh, it's getting so close, folks. Week 1 of the NFL season, week 1 with FanDuel Sportsbook, and America's #1 sportsbook is the way you need to go. Join today. Get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All you got to do is sign up with promo code Joe102, get in on the action, turn game day into payday all season long. It's very apparent. Everyone's down on the Titans. I'll be the homer here and tell you, if you're going to do a futures bet, go with the over on total wins with the Titans. Do whatever you want, though. Play your way. Bet on whatever you want, more than just the final score, all kinds of props. And, of course, you can combine bets for a same-game parlay. Don't fumble this chance. $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code Joe102. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issue is now available free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Hey, football fans. Dak Prescott here, and I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
Tune in to ESPN 102.5 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman & Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Jim Jeffries.
Here's the thing about millennials.
Live on stage.
You're the worst people that have ever lived.
Saturday, October 8th at Ryman Auditorium. Tickets on sale now at AXS.com. Produced by Outback Presents.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Tune into
the Friday edition of Robbie and Rexroad. We'll recap Tennessee's first game of the year against Ball State. Joe Rexroad was there live and in person, so make sure you tune in for that. Teron Davenport joining us at 8 o'clock as well. It all starts at 6 a.m. Robbie and Rexroad, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, Nashville, this is Penny Hardaway, University of Memphis coach. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
Yeah, I'm very happy to score 3 goals and help the team. Our first half wasn't good enough. We knew it, but in the end, we were still in the game, and we knew if we can play a little bit better and improve our game, we can easily win that game. So we did that. We played a really good second half. And we deserved the win then in the end.
There you go, MVP candidate Hani Mukhtar. 3 goals last night in a 4-1 victory over the Colorado Rapids for Nashville SC. We say hello to Ben Wright of Broadway Sports, who covers Nashville SC. Ben, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. It's a fun time to talk Nashville SC after a bit of a difficult summer.
I think it shows you the ebbs and flows of an MLS season or soccer in general because they're so long. But do you feel like, and we'll get to Mukhtar in just a second in his season, but do you feel like that now with some of the moves the club has made that things are really starting to click and this team is once again showing that they're going to be a contender come playoff time?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think so. I think it's kind of a classic trope almost in MLS. You see teams struggle over the summer, and then somehow things just start to click and they get hot. I mean, Seattle Sounders, it looks like they're going to miss the playoffs this year, but in the past they have kind of been the masters of this. They've got hot at the right time and gone on a deep run, and I think that's hopefully what we're starting to see from Nashville. I think the other part, too, is that even though, especially in July, the results weren't there, the play wasn't actually that bad. I mean, a lot of what they're doing now is the same things that they've been doing over the summer, and it's just working now. They're kind of maybe getting a little bit lucky, but they're definitely finishing a lot of the chances that they didn't over the summer, and I think it's just kind of starting to pay off for them.
19 goals, which is tied for the league lead, and Mukhtar has contributed to 30 this year, the most of any player in MLS. I mean, is this MVP race his to lose at this point?
I think that's where it gets tricky. I would have said it probably was his last year, and he finished second in MVP voting. I think the tricky thing with MVP in MLS, and I guess as well as in any league around the world, it's as much narrative as it is just pure numbers. And I think Sebastian Driussi, who's coming to Nashville on Saturday with Austin, he's had a lot of that narrative kind of focused on him for most of the year, just because Austin has kind of blown expectations out of the water. And I think Nashville's struggling over the summer has kind of maybe balanced that out a little bit for Mukhtar. But I think just on pure numbers, he's been the best attacker in MLS this season and last season, and really kind of putting up some dominant numbers that we haven't seen before that often in MLS.
Ben Wright with us. We're talking the red hot Nashville SC. Last 3 results, 4-0, 3-0 on the road at Vancouver, and then 4-1 last night against Colorado. Ben, you just hit on what's coming. You've got 2 games with Austin sandwiched around a game with L.A., so critical stretch, needless to say, and hopefully, this is a great time to have a stretch like this if they can keep playing like this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Austin is clearly one of the best teams in MLS, and I don't, as good as Nashville have been recently, I don't think they're catching them on the table anytime soon. So it's not necessarily a 6-pointer where you're trying to take 3 points yourself and keep the other team from getting 6 points. But you need to get points against Austin. And then I think, like you mentioned, the game coming up next week against the LA Galaxy, they're right with Nashville in the hunt for those playoff spots. And so that's going to be one where keeping them from getting points is just about as important as taking points yourself. So, I mean, it's some huge games coming up for Nashville. Fortunately, they have a home game against Houston mixed in there as well, which they're towards the bottom of the table, but it's really not going to be easy in this last stretch of the season.
Ben, you had some interesting numbers I saw last night in the wake of the great performance by Mukhtar. Let's put the MVP thing aside, but just his production since he's become a member of the team. It's just amazing what they've hit on here. When they signed him, and this is where I don't have much of a background on it, did they have any kind of expectation
$3 million, which is not even, I mean, it's not the most expensive transfer fee Nashville have paid. It's certainly nowhere close to the most expensive transfer fee MLS teams have paid. I mean, it's a pretty minimal amount, and they just absolutely hit it out of the park. I don't think they expected Mukhtar to be this type of player either. They kind of expected him to be more of just a pure chance creator. I mean, he's obviously creating chances for other players, but he's just the scoring that he has taken on for Nashville has just kind of blown every expectation out of the water. I mean, he's produced a goal or an assist every 99 minutes he's played, which is just unreal for any player in any league. And it's just kind of insane the value they've got out of this transfer.
This may not be something people enjoy discussing now because you want to live in the moment. You want to have something happen positive down the stretch and end up having a great postseason here. But with him, I know there's a lot of leagues around the world. They watch everything everybody does. Can they keep Ani Mukhtar? Like, what's his contract status going forward?
Yeah, so they just actually re-signed him to a new contract through 2025 with an extra option for 2026. So they have him locked up long term. Obviously another team could come in and pay a transfer fee and get him. Gary Smith was actually asked about it, I believe, after the Vancouver game, and he said he thinks he's absolutely good enough to play in a top 4 league, like somewhere in England, Spain, Germany, but that Mukhtar's had the long-term contract, and it would cost another team a lot of money to get him. The other thing, too, is Mukhtar is engaged to a girl from Nashville. He's in the best form he's ever been in. He seems genuinely happy here. So while there might be interest, Nashville would make it pretty cost-prohibitive, and I think Mukhtar isn't necessarily looking to leave. I think he's pretty content here.
And, of course, Chase, I am sort of a casual fan, a novice fan, but having watched Ted Lasso, I do understand that you can purchase a player from another. It does happen.
Well, I've played the FIFA game, so I understand.
Yeah. We start with the basics and we move up from there, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're talking to Ben Wright, Broadway Sports, Little Nashville SC. So 6 games left in the regular season, but I think 2 that really stand out to me. One is going to be Saturday night at Geodis Park against Austin. They play Austin again on the 17th at their place. I mean, that has some pretty big implications in the Western Conference.
Yeah, it does. Austin is ahead of them in the table, but at this point, Nashville are 2 points out of third place. There's a 2 points out of fourth place. There's a chance that they could move up the table and not just make the playoffs, which was kind of in question all throughout the summer. It seems like now they're going to make the playoffs, but now they actually have a shot at moving up and maybe even getting into one of those top 4 spots, which would mean that you get to host a home playoff game. So, every point that they can pick up here is important. It's still a super crowded race, really, from everything under second place. Austin and LAFC seem to have those locked up, but everything else is still up for grabs. MLS is just unpredictable, so anything can happen. I think they're pretty firmly in the playoff mix at this point, but, who knows? It's kind of a crazy league.
I guess I should say 5 MLS games left. They do have the Leagues Cup showcase on the 21st at Geodis Park, so that's a little different. But we'll see how it all shakes out. Ben, thanks for the time, as always. A fun night last night at Geodis Park. Good to talk to you. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, guys, appreciate it. Thanks.
Ben Wright, Broadway Sports, talking Nashville SC, as it's hard to believe the season is winding down. They of course, will play Saturday night at Geodis Park against Austin. And then I have another home game on the 10th against the LA Galaxy. Still a lot of home games here at Geodis Park as they started the season on the road. So I got to go. I still got to go. I haven't been to a game yet. I definitely want to make that happen before the season's over.
It looked like an electric atmosphere. You also have to look at when a team catches fire at the right time. And I'm hoping that continues for them. These next few games are really, really big. They're playing 2 games against Austin, who's had a great year, and you've got the LA Galaxy, who are one of those bubble teams you're trying to hold off to get into the playoffs. A playoff race is so big in a new stadium. It looked like a great crowd last night. And the thing we've always wondered is, in this market, when you got your new stadium, you got a good team, and now you get into the Titan season. And then not that long after that, the Predators will start. And this is when the postseason and the games mean the most for the MLS season. So can they keep their share of the spotlight? going on? I hope the answer is yes, because I believe in our city and our market. We've grown and we've diversified enough that everybody can flourish if you have a good product, and they're putting out a pretty good product right now. It was interesting in the summer when you have a little bit more chance to grab the spotlight. That's when they weren't really playing very well, and people were starting. And sometimes that's a good sign. It's kind of like people are going, "What's wrong?"
Right.
That means you have some interest, right? If nobody was even noticing that they weren't playing great,
I was
and
like,
nobody had any expectations, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But there was kind of like, well, what's wrong with these guys? These guys are supposed to be better than this. And now we're starting to see it.
I was reading tweets from people like Gary Smith is on the hot seat. I'm like, what?
Hey, we're becoming a soccer market.
I know, but and again, we're learning. I don't pretend to be an expert. I've gotten to be friends with a lot of the broadcasters and stuff, and so they have helped me learn. My guys Wes and Tony and Jamie and Kelly, and they've done a great job helping me. But I don't pretend to be an expert on anything soccer or Nashville SC. But that's why we get people like Ben Wright to help us out.
Yeah, you know what else helps when you have a star?
That too.
Like Mukhtar.
Yeah,
and so he's a reason. They took him out last night. He already had 3 goals. He probably could have had a chance for another goal or 2.
Gary's like, we need to cool off.
Yeah, rest up.
Rest up for Saturday night. Coming up next, we'll get back into our poll question of the day. It's on Twitter at 1025 The Game. We want you to vote in it because it is a doozy. Last chance. Do you reverse the A.J. Brown trade? If you're the Tennessee Titans, we'll give you the results. We'll read your text as well. 615-737-1025. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 2:45.
Sanders for the touchdown, 48 yards.
Former NFL wide receiver Chris Sanders joins Stillman and Company to give his thoughts on all things Titans and NFL. Fueled by Parman Energy, now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
On Fox 17, Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus forecast for today very comfortable, very similar to your Wednesday. High temperatures upper 80s to right near 90 degrees, low humidity, and no rain chances for today. A few showers and storms late in the day for your Friday.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willy Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage. Whether you're buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe here to tell you about my drink of the summertime. You know it, Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Screwball is the first and most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world, and it's an original, just like me, the suit. I take Screwball as a shot, but it's great on the rocks in an old-fashioned, an espresso martini, and many other recipes. So next time you're out and about, ask for Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2022, Screwball Spirits, LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
You've never knowingly feed your dog sawdust, but it's one of the most common fillers found in dog food today. Even the ones labeled healthy can contain powdered cellulose, otherwise known as wood pulp.
I'm veterinarian Dr. Marty Goldstein. Your dog needs a biologically appropriate diet. That's why I developed Nature's Blend, a freeze-dried raw food, premium cuts of meat, omega-3 rich seeds, and superfood veggies and fruit.
This is my dog Cleo. She's a 10-year-old Chihuahua. Before we started Dr. Marty's food, she was
was really not spunky, a lot of digestion problems, joint pain.
Nature's Blend is made in North America and is pantry safe.
Now she acts like a little puppy. She's running around.
For a limited time, save 54% off Nature's Blend and receive a free pack of premium dog treats. Go to drmartypets.com/good or text GOOD to 511-511.
I guarantee it with a 100% 90-day return of your purchase price.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to one additional text. Text stop to opt out.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
This September 10th and 11th, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Buy your tickets now at blendedfestival.com. That's blendedfestival.com. Welcome back in, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Willy Donick with you. D-Mace will join us for Silly Underdog Picks. He's back in the saddle tomorrow after taking his son back to college. But the poll question of the day at if I could talk, at 102.5 The Game on Twitter. Last chance. Do you reverse the A.J. Brown trade, yes or no? Right now, yes is at 27.6%, no at 72.4%. That is what we have right now for that. But I know a lot of people have weighed in on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Taylor says absolutely not. Got to keep flexible cap space so we don't get stuck in a rebuild. Matt says no. AJ lies all the time and can't stay healthy. I would still trade him. Interesting.
Yeah, keep weighing in on why you feel the way you do. And that is those two things to me are key to the answer. Because I think if you're being honest, you know that if A.J. Brown were on this roster right now, they would be a better team. But some people consider A.J. Brown's flakiness, let's just characterize it as flakiness, I think that really affects how people feel about him some. And they also look at, if you have the mentality of you don't want to go for it too much and risk a rebuild, then you're absolutely going to vote no. If you feel that way about both of those issues, it's a no-brainer no, and the vast majority of our listeners feel that way. But the question is, should they have gone for it more this year? Last year, the moves they made were more of a go for it. The Bud Dupree signing, the Julio Jones thing, for sure, it was sort of an all-in move, and it got them the number 1 seed, even though the Julio Jones thing blew up. It didn't work at all. Well, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones were on the field together for about 30% of the passing plays. It didn't work at all. But they still were number 1 in the division.
And number 1 in the league, or AFC. Two years in a row, John Robinson has kicked the tires on a veteran player superstar. He did it with Jadeveon Clowney the year before in 2020. That didn't work. He did it with Julio Jones last year. That didn't work. And so I was kind of glad he didn't do it this year. That there wasn't somebody that he kicked the tires on. I mean, he's always known to take a flyer on somebody. Like I guess that's what he's doing with Josh Gordon. Race car driver going to play receiver for the Titans. That'll be good. But Josh Gordon, he did that. But I think it's certainly interesting reading these responses. Matt says no, A.J. Brown won't stay healthy the whole year. I think in the long run, it was the right move. Junie says, if I'm John Robinson, I am not reversing the A.J. trade. A.J. wanted top 5 money at the position, and he isn't even a top 10 receiver in the league, in my opinion. He can't stay healthy, and the Titans are a run-first team. Why pay a receiver when you don't think you have the right quarterback in the locker room? Team Building 101 says you can get a young receiver in drafts years to come because every draft is loaded with them.
I think that is another big-time philosophical question that we will find out the answer to, and that is you have two things working. You have, an influx of a mass amount of really good, talented wide receivers coming into the game each year. That's one part of it. But the other part is the market is changing for premier receivers. And so they're rolling the dice, and they are gambling that they can get the production from the wide receiver position without paying the premier money it would have taken to get A.J. Brown. Here's the Football Outsiders thing, though, that is the key to it. And this is what made it tough. And we have dissected everything A.J. Brown is and isn't at this stage of his career. But it says here in their preview on the Titans, what makes Tennessee's decision to trade Brown different from the decisions to trade Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill is that A.J. Brown wasn't some veteran looking for a market-setting third contract that would take him to his mid or late 30s. He'll play the full 22 season as a 25-year-old, and he'll only be 29 at the time his new contract ends with the Eagles. So they chose not to pay A.J. Brown prime money for his prime years. And so he's in a different category. He's more in the Deebo Samuel. We see what happened with him. And that little cluster, Terry McLaurin was in that group. Mm-hmm. Those guys that reworked the system and raised the bar based on what some of the guys at the top got. So I think this is going to be something to really watch for as a league trend going forward on who gets the big money. You only have a certain amount of money to go around. Do you pay the premier players even more than you're used to there? And they chose not to do it with Brown. They just didn't, at the end of the day, they didn't believe in him enough to invest the big money. And that did surprise people at the time.
Yeah, and look, I know AJ had the tweet that said, we all basically got the same deal. I'm the only one that got traded.
Yeah, that's true.
It is true, but I think the Titans were saying, yeah, you weren't worth the deal. Philly said you were. Philly overpaid, but it wasn't worth – to me, if I'm putting John Robinson on a lie detector – well, I'm not going to put words in his mouth. But if I'm John Robinson, I'm thinking to myself, dude, you're good. You're very talented. But at the end of the day, you're not worth the headache. And ultimately, and he makes key catches, but he has key drops. And the narrative, as you're seeing on the text line, can't stay healthy. I mean, I think that is definitely part of it. Derek says, once again, the thing with AJ is mainly the cap. It's a $20 million a year you have free. That's enough to fill a premium position that would otherwise be left with a non-impact player. Burks gives you 5 years at a discount, potentially.
But what is Burks?
No idea.
That's the risk.
That's
why I'm putting it out here now.
But hang on,
I'm talking about the now, because long term, this was a long-term move. There's no way around it. But you're trying to win right now. You have Tannehill and Derrick Henry at the downside of their peak, right? Is that a fair statement? You're looking for the last year, maybe two, of the best that Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry have to offer. Beyond that, who's the next quarterback? I don't know. Malik Willis could end up being a good quarterback, but will it be next year?
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Can he lead you to the Super Bowl next year? This team was the number 1 seed to get to the Super Bowl last year. So they had an opportunity. It's a very deep AFC. You're seeing the predictions come in. The over-under in Vegas is just over 8.5 wins. Whether you're looking at an analytics site, the simulations, the predictors, most people aren't picking the Titans to be much more than a 9-8 kind of team. So that's why I'm throwing this question out there today is I'm giving you a chance to wave the magic wand and do a do-over. Do you want to go back?
I mean,
I have A.J. Brown on this roster. It would be a much different set of predictions for this year only. Now, what happens beyond, if you guys are smart enough and you're living in the mode of let's look long-term, I get that. That's good. I like that you're doing that. But be consistent on it, because we're going to ask this question again in the middle of the season, and we'll see if it works out.
This is what Philip in Murfreesboro said. Chase, you don't want to have to ask the question again. If in 8 weeks you have to ask this question again, the team is in dire straits because nobody is going to say yes if the team is 6-2. I think that's a fair point.
Yeah, and if the team is 3-4?
It's a good question. A lot of people saying no on this. A lot of people. A lot of people telling me Josh Gordon is in for the Titans. Yeah, we know. We talked about that. 615-737-1025. We will continue to get to this as the show goes on. But coming up next, we're going to talk to Joel Corey from CBS Sports. He will join us coming up next. But first, Willie, tell us about QC Kinetics.
Let's talk QC Kinetics. They're a group that wants to keep you moving. You want to be active. All of the things that you love to be doing, you want to keep doing those. And if you've been hindered by joint pain, QC Kinetics is a place you need to contact and look into. They can get you moving again with those cutting-edge regenerative treatments I've always been telling you about, with no drugs, no downtime, no surgery. The regenerative medicine from QC Kinetics uses highly concentrated healing properties from your own body, and it restores and repairs the damaged joint tissue. QC Kinetics also is the nation's leader in this exciting breakthrough natural approach to eliminating that joint pain. So if you're a big-time tennis player or a pickleball player, or you love playing golf, and it just hasn't happened for you because you can't shake the pain in your back or your shoulders or your hips, don't wait any longer. Get the free consultation from QC Kinetics, because the traditional ways may not have worked for you. You may not be aware that this is out there, and it might be your solution. QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. It's a free consultation. 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. That's 615-249-4024.
You love the game.
Tennessee touchdown! Middle Tennessee gets the score.
We live the game.
Just work on the little things every day.
They think the coaches are just coaches.
We are.
We got pass rushers.
Checkered flag in the air.
Awesome game 7.
What a stop made by UC Sarah.
The game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Big Joe on the go. Look, I get it. Nobody likes being in a car accident, but when that happens, make it easy on yourself and call Apple Collision Centers so you don't have to stress. They're locally owned with 3 convenient locations in O'Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Apple Collision Centers managers combined for 60-plus years experience, and they only recommend original equipment parts on your vehicle. So, if you're in need of a repair today or down the road, just head over to Apple Collision Centers. Stan and his team will take great care of you. Online, applecollisioncenters.com.
312 Pizza Company is a family-owned restaurant located in the heart of Germantown, serving up authentic Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. 312 Pizza Company only uses the best all-natural ingredients and makes everything in-house from scratch every single day. And trust me, you can taste the difference. They've got deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, their Italian beef. You'll taste the freshness. Stop in for a pint of local beer and a slice of pizza, or order online at 312pizzaco.com. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase.
Stone Company. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willy Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
11 o'clock hour, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming on the Game Nashville app. Chase McCabe, Willy Donick hanging out. Nick Keyser behind the glass as well. We say hello now to Joel Corey, CBS Sports, joining us. Joel, how you doing?
Doing great. How you guys doing?
We are doing fantastic. So a big day for Russell Wilson as he gets a 5-year contract extension worth $245 million. $165 million of that is guaranteed as he enters his 34-year-old season. What did you make of the contract?
One, I'm not that surprised that he got a deal done because his agent, Mark Rogers, was spotted at Broncos training camp right when the sale was approved. So that kind of put the deal on my radar screen. I thought that he may have had the leverage to get a fully guaranteed contract, which he didn't, because the new ownership group led by Rob Walton has the deepest pockets in the NFL. Walton's net worth is estimated to be $60 billion. Plus, the Broncos gave up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and 3 players to get him. But if it's $165 million fully guaranteed at signing, and not just $165 million in total guarantees, then that's a pretty good compromise, because next to Deshaun Watson's fully guaranteed contract, Kyler Murray is second with $103.3 million fully guaranteed at signing. So if that's $165 fully guaranteed at signing, that does move the bar in a significant way.
So what do you think this does? Obviously, all eyes are going to be on Lamar Jackson because he's the next one to get a big deal, and he's probably going to end up with maybe the biggest deal. So how does this affect that, if at all?
Well, if he's adamant about a fully guaranteed contract, this does not help him. This is just more ammunition for Steve Bisciotti, the Ravens owner, to go that the Deshaun Watson deal is an outlier, aberration, anomaly, and I'm not giving you a fully guaranteed contract. And you got to look at Deshaun Watson's situation in this context. He was basically, to me, a quasi-free agent. The Texans were getting rid of him. You had multiple teams who were willing to trade for him. The Falcons and Saints were the last 2 contenders. The Browns had been eliminated, and the Browns just started doing whatever they had to do to try to get him to reconsider them. That's how you get to his contract, despite the personal conduct policy suspension. So far, nobody else has been able to get the fully guaranteed contract, and if Lamar is dead set on one, he may have to start playing the franchise tag game.
Joel Corey is with us. So go a little further with that, Joel, because the other thing I hear about this whole thing, and the last time you were on, we were asking about this, is, does he have to turn up the dial a little bit and sort of threaten to, I guess the new term they're saying is hold in?
Well, you don't see guys put an ultimatum on it. He gave him a deadline by the first game of the regular season. We need a deal. What you typically don't see is an ultimatum of, if I don't get a contract done, then I'm not playing. I can't recall anyone doing that in the last 25 years. I do remember a case a long time ago. Sterling Sharp did that to the Packers, where he told them like 2 days before the regular season, they'd been negotiating, this thing's not done, I'm out. Now, if you walk out, they can give you a 5-day letter. And if you don't return within 5 days, your season's over. Obviously, the Ravens wouldn't do that because they need Lamar Jackson. They're 0-4 down the stretch without him. But I doubt he goes to that extreme and would probably just cut off negotiations and play out the year, and then the Ravens would have to decide whether to go non-exclusive or exclusive franchise tag.
The other thing that everybody it just blows their mind, the money that the quarterbacks are getting. Lamar's next, but then you've got Joe Burrow, you've got Justin Herbert, those two in particular, with Russell Wilson sort of passing the likes of Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes with the guaranteed money here. The sky's got to be the limit for those next 2 guys.
Yeah, in overall dollars and average per year, but the fully guaranteed contract thing, I don't think Joe Burrow has a prayer of getting a fully guaranteed contract. I know the Bengals just sold naming rights to the stadium, and that was probably to generate cash flow for him. That's one of the it's a mom-and-pop operation, family-run business, so they don't have the deep pockets the other owners do, so they can't afford to stick all the money in escrow for future guarantees you would under NFL funding rules. Plus, they don't even do base salary guarantees for anybody. So Burrow would have to first get him to change the precedent where we're going to guarantee base salary on a veteran contract before even getting to a fully guaranteed contract. And the Spanos family doesn't have deep pockets like some of the other owners do either. So Justin Herbert getting a fully guaranteed contract, I think that's a stretch. They're both eligible for contract extensions once the 2022 regular season ends.
We're talking to Joel Corey of CBS Sports. Now, one thing that obviously we pay attention to here is the contract of Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill. The Titans could hypothetically get out of it after this year. They drafted Malik Willis in the 3rd round. That's something that they're certainly monitoring. But if you're representing Tannehill, you know all these things. What if he has a good year? How do you go about his contract situation with some years left on it, but knowing that the Titans could cut bait after this year?
Well, if he has a good year and the Titans have a successful season, then I'm approaching the team for a contract extension. And if they're unwilling to give me one, if I have my client's approval, it would be then why don't you trade him to someone who will? Since you obviously you don't want to pay me for the future, you have Malik Willis waiting in the wings. I've always thought the window for the Titans was going to be through 2023 because Tannehill and Derrick Henry's contracts expired at the same time. So I thought that was really going to be the championship window because I've never thought and still don't think that Derrick Henry would have the same value now or when he signed his contract as after his contract expired with the type of mileage that they're going to put on him.
Joel, as we let you go, that leads us into the question we're sort of asking today is if what you're saying is true, because I think that's a really good point. The window is they've lined it up with Tannehill and Henry's contracts, but then of course they made the daring move of trading A.J. Brown. So given that the window was this year and maybe next year, does it still surprise you in retrospect that they did what they did with A.J. Brown? Because if you look at the predictions around the league, people aren't really looking at this Titans team. You know, it doesn't mean they're right, but most people are not predicting them to be in a window to win this year.
Well, it's a two-team race in the AFC South. That it's either the Titans or the Colts are going to win the division. The Jaguars will be improved, but I don't think they're quite there yet. Depends on how big of a leap Trevor Lawrence takes. But the receiver market exploded in a way I've never seen any other market do ever. So if you're thinking we don't want to pay A.J. Brown $20 million per year and the market kept going up, there's going to be a tipping point eventually. And you see that in a lot of these cases that there's not a high-priced quarterback with some of these guys who are signing deals. The 49ers with Debo, there's no high-priced quarterback. DK Metcalf, their quarterback for the future will probably be Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. I think they're going to be that bad. Dallas gave away Amari Cooper for next to nothing before the market went haywire, thinking $20 million per year was too much. In hindsight, that's a relative bargain compared to where the market has moved. And the Chiefs decided, well, we have this high-priced Patrick Mahomes contract. We're not going to pay Tyreek Hill, so they moved on.
Joel, real quick, are you surprised that there's been no movement with the Titans and Jeffrey Simmons on his contract extension, or do you think that now at this point they're just going to go through the season and go from there?
I've always thought the timing was next year. Typically, you see on average 3 first-round picks get new contracts after 3 years. So far, Kyler Murray is the only one. In 2018, a great draft class. 17, a great 2014 draft class of Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, Zach Martin. Nobody got done. Tyler Lewan got done heading into his option year. I always thought that was the timing for Jeffrey Simmons 2023.
All right, great stuff as always, Joel. Good to talk to you. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Joel Corey, CBS Sports former agent, now their salary cap expert. Always enjoy the visits with him, and a proud USN alum as well.
Yes, University School of Nashville. He's got his own podcast, too, where he gets more into detail on salary cap things, and I'm sure he'll be breaking down that Russell Wilson contract.
Yeah, no doubt. So a lot of interesting stuff there to to kind of break down with the news going on. But news that hit right as we were going on the air: Josh Gordon signing with the Titans practice squad Is he a fit for this team? We'll discuss that a little bit more. Coming up next, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
High school football is here. Join Big Joe Dubin every Friday night at 6 for the Apple Collision Center's Game Blitz, presented by National Playmakers Academy.
Just a small sample of these great coaches in our area.
We'll go around the mid-state for scores and reports on all the big games.
If I'm a high school coach, I want the challenge.
The Game Blitz is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Willy Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game and a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
If you have the first overall pick, select Twin Peaks for your fantasy football draft party. Stay cool under pressure with 29-degree draft beers, bites for the whole team, a $50 bonus card for the commish, and $5 bonus card for every drafter. Visit TwinPeaksRestaurant.com/fantasy draft for info.
The Parker Store at 1909 Nolensville Road in Nashville is the Parker Factory Authorized Store for your Parker hydraulic, pneumatic, water, and chemical hose needs. They stock metric tubing and hose connections to 42 millimeters in size, and they'll fabricate while you wait up to 6,000 PSI hydraulic hoses in a 2-inch size. Call the Parker Store at 615-248-8245 for all the Parker requirements you have. The Parker Store, 1909 Nolensville Road.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and FanDuel wants you to be ready for game day when college football kicks off this week. Right now, new customers can get $150 in free bets guaranteed for week 1. Just place a $5 bet, and you can get $150 in free bets, win or lose. Lots of interesting college football props out there. I'm looking at the Vols over 7.5 wins this year, but you take it any way you want to take it. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. The app is easy to use, and they're always hooking you up with great odds as well. So see for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Download the FanDuel app today, sign up with promo code ROB, and place a $5 bet to get $150 in free bets guaranteed to kick off the college football season. Once again, that promo code is ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a stuntman to do their home renovations.
Just finished a new sunroom, Mrs. C. The best part is I used candy glass for all the windows, so you can do this. And this. Doesn't hurt a bit either.
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
And if you don't want to take the long way to the kitchen, the walls are breakaway too. See?
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Willy Donick here with you. Derek Mason will be back with us tomorrow, but he will join coming up at high noon. Silly underdog picks. The panel this year. Yours truly returns, trying to win one. Chris Sanders tries to win one. The director, George Plaster, joining us. Kelly Holcomb and D-Mase as well. Bunch of veterans back in the fold for Silly Underdog Picks coming up at noon, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. The Titans, couple of things real quick. Sam Darnold has been placed on injured reserve for the Carolina Panthers, so that news coming out. Looks like he's expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. P.J. Walker will be Baker Mayfield's backup. Matt Corral is out for the season. So there's some quarterback news.
Matt Corral,
Carolina.
wow. Guy can't catch a break.
I know. Gets hurt in a bowl game. But the Titans
signing. But then he came back and he got a totally different injury, right?
I know, yeah. Titans signing Josh Gordon to the practice squad. We opened the show with this. A couple people weighing in. Ben says, putting Gordon's off the field issues aside, if the Chiefs couldn't make his talent work with their top-notch quarterback and mediocre receivers, what is he providing the Titans unless they think our receivers are just that bad? In a normal scenario, he would not even be worth the headache. I don't know if he's really worth a headache, Ben, at this point. I mean, we talked about this at the start of the show, that a lot of his issues involve marijuana. A lot of the rules have changed. Things are different now. It still has obviously derailed his career, what looked to be a promising career, but I don't know if he's necessarily a headache. But
if he's a headache, he won't be here very long.
I don't think he would have been signed. Like
but I don't know if you know until you get him here, right? He's
played for enough teams
day to day.
He played for New England, so I think all John has to do is call up Belichick and say, "Hey, should I take a flyer on him?"
There's no question that is valuable background for sure. That they could have a feel for what he's been like to have around, but of course, this is his last gasp.
Yeah,
he's looking to hang on. So if he's a headache, he'll be gone. He'll be gone by next Monday. He won't be on the team. So the headache thing, to me, this is just you're taking a shot in the dark. The point on the Chiefs is one where I definitely have some reservations, because if he couldn't make the Chiefs had him there, why would he be the answer here? I don't know. But the theory that we're all hanging on to, this is where we think maybe there's a shot for a role. They need somebody who can get down the field. If Josh Gordon can still stretch the field, he has an average yards per catch of 17 yards. That's a very high number. And even the last couple years, it stayed up there fairly high. That helps. That's desperately what they need. If they could just get a few good plays from him over the course of a few weeks before his body breaks down or something. Just a contribution. It'd be worth it because they're not paying anything.
Yeah.
They got nothing to lose.
And look, I don't look at this as, oh, here's another weapon for Ryan Tannehill. This is a game changer. Now, look, he could come in and show flashes of Flash, his nickname, and you go, hey, all right, we hit on one. The odds of that happening are probably not very good, but if he can give you 4 or 5 good games like you were saying, then you'll take it.
I love it. And it buys time, especially if that happens towards the beginning of the season, while you're buying time for Traylon Burks to continue to absorb and develop in a perfect world, right? That's the hope, as he gets better as the season goes along. Then even better. The thing is, you didn't give up a draft pick. You're not putting any guaranteed money down. You're just seeing what you got there. You have nothing to lose. So, I mean, I like the move. I just don't want to get my hopes up too much. But if he makes the team and can stretch the defense, that's what they need. And with Racing McMath hurt, I think the hope was that maybe McMath would be the guy that you could send on a deep route.
I think he would have been.
Because we have stressed this so much. You don't have A.J. Brown anymore, and even with A.J. Brown on the roster, they played against a stacked box more than any team in the league. What is the trend with NFL defenses right now? The trend, and the Titans are one of the teams that went with this trend. You play back. You hang back. You don't give up the big play. Defenses are not nearly as aggressive as they were because you're going to get burned. If you give up a play of 20 or more yards on a drive, and you give up too many of those over the course of the season, you're not going to be a very good defense. And that is where Shane Bowen, I think, kind of was able to win the battle because he stressed that. He went to that more, the two high safeties, rely on the front four to get the pressure. And they were a better defense because of it, because that front four was very good, and you're hoping to have more of that this year. But on the other side, that's not how defenses play the Titans, because the Titans don't scare you with explosive plays. So they stack the box against Derrick Henry. So they desperately need somebody, whether it's Josh Gordon or Racey McMath, or maybe it's a combination of these new guys with Burks, to have some fear in the defense that you have to back up a little bit and give some more room for Derrick Henry to operate. I worry about if you don't have the fear of the defense and they can sneak up to that line of scrimmage, it is going to be a punishing year on a running back who's already starting to pile up years, carries, wear and tear.
So I think the thing that I'm curious of, does Treylon Burks have kind of a slow start and then things pick up for him kind of like it did A.J. Brown? Now, the misnomer, if you go back to A.J. Brown's rookie year, he had 100 yards against the Browns, but that was on 3 catches. That he had that in his first game, in his rookie year, that 43-13 blowout in Cleveland. But then he had 3 catches, 25 yards, 1 catch for 4 yards, 3 catches, 94 yards, 2 catches, 27, 2 catches, 23, 6 catches, 64.
I'd take that. I'd take that from Treylon Burks.
Sure, you would, because then as the season went on, it got more consistent. He was having more 100-yard games and being targeted more. I mean, against Houston in a loss in 2019, he was targeted 13 times, 8 catches, 114 yards, and a touch. So if you got production like that and he was a 1,000-yard receiver, and I'm not even saying Treylon Burks has to be an 1,000-yard receiver in his rookie year. If he's not, okay, that's fine. If it's 850, 900, but you're seeing him, improve and be the guy that you took in the first round, you'll take it. Now, that's also contingent on you're getting production out of Robert Woods, NWI, Kyle Phillips.
That's the part that you don't know. Is it 700 yards or 800 yards within an offense where they're spreading the ball around? You're getting good tight end production. You're getting a good year from Robert Woods. You're getting steady production from the other guys. Then, yeah. But if it's not happening, then how much are you trying? I think they have tried to take the approach of not having to shoulder themselves with having to have a big year from Treylon Burks. And the other thing with Brown, when he was rookie, I don't think he had that. I don't think anybody was thinking, you got to have 1,000 yards from this guy from day one. It just sort of happened. But it doesn't look like Burks is going to get the reps early in the season to pile up big numbers. You're hoping for some sparks, some key plays. But can the production be better than it was last year? This was a bottom 10 offense last year overall. So it wouldn't take a whole lot for the wide receiver group to be better than last year's wide receiver group, even with A.J. Brown in there, because Brown only played 13 games. He had other games in those 13 where he was playing hurt and wasn't a big factor. He did have some great performances. Front and center would be the performance against the 49ers. But Julio Jones was a non-factor. So collectively, can they be better? That's a number one question. Not number one, but it's in the top 5. It'll be in my questions next week, by the way, when we look at top 10 questions going into the season.
I can't wait for that. So just doing some quick math, if you took 6 guys, 6 pass catchers for the Titans, not putting names to them, just 6 guys, and you basically said their average was 500 yards apiece, that's 3,000 yards. I mean, that's not awful. You'd want a little bit more.
You need more. You need more than 3,000 yards passing as a team. You don't now.
But I'm talking about just the 6. What I view is 6 key guys, which in that group would be Woods, Burks, NWI, Phillips, whoever your deep threat is, whether that's a combination of McMath, Gordon, whatever, and then your tight ends and Hooper, Chikakonkwo.
So
is all that is
so
all
the
that
receivers, not including running backs, then.
Yeah, right. And you're going to get some production out of Hilliard and Henry too, and hopefully Haskins.
It has not been a throw to the running back offense the last few years. Not usually.
but I feel like 2 years ago they did it more with Henry. Arthur Smith's last year, I think it was his last year. He used Henry more in that role.
Well, we've laughed for years. You can count on one hand the number of screens to running backs that have worked for this. I mean, going way back to several offensive coordinators. But that is one way to do it. With Hilliard or Haskins, I wonder if that's in the playbook. You got to wonder about the offensive line with some of the new guys. Are they good at setting up screens? The new tight ends, are they good at setting up screens? That's a complete unknown because we certainly wouldn't know based on training camp or preseason games. It's unknown, which is why nobody's picking the Titans. And that's leading to our question of the day is we could wave the magic wand. We're giving you one last chance. If you want to have a do-over and reverse the A.J. Brown trade, would you do it? That's our question of the day, 615-737-1025, and vote on our Twitter poll. It's about 70-30.
Mm-hmm. They
wouldn't do it. They like how it is. 70% say keep it the way it is.
Will Young
We're not going back.
Will Young says cancer, no thanks.
A.J. Brown's a cancer, and that was never once said while he was playing.
No.
Never once.
No.
Never.
No.
Not while he was playing.
Not while he was playing, but I do understand why people are trying.
Not a
going
cancer.
That way.
Cancer is overreaction.
You think it's an overreaction?
Tell me, a cancer means he is detrimental to the team.
And I believe that the organization felt like it was getting to that point.
No way.
With him running his mouth on Twitter and deleting things and stuff.
But here's the other thing. I would put the category.
We don't know.
I would label as flaky, not cancer.
Okay, that's fine. But here's the thing. We don't know. We haven't been in the locker room in 3 years until yesterday.
Don't you think we would know when he was there for that long that if the C word is a strong word, cancer. I never heard that. Never heard anything close to that. In fact, there was a emotional press conference where he talked about his off-the-field issues, how much he loved Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel was outspoken about how much he loved A.J. Brown. Let's not forget that. It's easy to get caught up in the crazy tweets and the goofy baseball videos and some of the other working out away from the team. I know that was a big thing. But in reality, to me, that would have been just nothing if they got a deal done. It was just they weren't willing to pay him that money, and they moved on.
I may not go as far as the word cancer, but I do
That's
think
too strong.
I do think a distraction was starting to happen.
And I would say it was never a distraction during the season. Distraction in the offseason is not a big deal.
That. Like, you don't know that for sure because you weren't in. Nobody was in there.
No,
nobody got to go in there anymore.
But that was a team that had great chemistry. That's why they won all those close games. They had great chemistry. That's a well-coached, well-oiled
with 91
team.
Players.
Yes. There's only one way you can win with 91 players and as many issues as they had, and that's to have great chemistry. So he was clearly not a cancer in the locker room. Okay. Now, he was a distraction in the offseason, but that's not a big deal as long as it gets done. The whole thing with Lamar Jackson, that's a distraction right now, but if it gets done before week 1, it won't be a big deal.
Josh in Whitehouse has put it, I think, best. He wasn't a cancer, but he was turning cancerous. That's how he put it.
Okay, and we don't know where it would have gone.
And that's my concern.
And obviously, they felt strong enough about it, and they traded him. So
right.
That's why I'm just saying, I'm giving you a chance to waive the matter in a hypothetical. Would you go back and do it? Everybody feels pretty strongly consensus now, and, of course, we'll see what the future holds.
Coming up next, our daily AFC South narrative from the national media. You will hear that coming up next, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Well, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Tired of living with chronic joint pain from arthritis or injury? Stop with the steroids and pain meds and don't have surgery until you check out regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics.
These therapies can help the body have long-term relief of your pain.
Meet Dr. Justin Garzone, Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
We use your body's own healing properties, highly concentrate them, and then use that to restore and repair the damaged tissues in your joints.
This is a cutting-edge natural solution from local medical professionals.
We have a team of medical assistants, physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and physicians that are trained specifically just to do regenerative medicine.
And Dr. Garzone speaks from personal experience. Before joining the QC Kinetics team, he was an actual patient.
I am now pain-free.
You too can get lasting relief from joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Hey, it's Jared. Join us for Stillman & Company at 2 o'clock as we get set for the start of college football season with our official SEC season predictions. And Tennessee gets set to take on Ball State. That's Stillman & Company on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 7:05 on 94.9 The Fan. And the Sounds are home at First Horizon Park. I was there last night, taking on the Memphis Redbirds, AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by 312 Pizza and Farm Bureau Health Plans. It was a beautiful night for baseball in Nashville. Nice little breeze at First Horizon Park. Willie, you would have loved it.
The Sounds, it's been an interesting year. They've had a really good team. And watching the Brewers are hanging on, trying desperately to stay in the race in the NL Central and also in the wild card chase. They're on the outside looking in. So I'm hoping for a strong finish for the Sounds, but I also wonder, as things wind down here, where are they in the standings, the Sounds, right now? Are they still you're supposed to you went to the game. You're supposed to be up on this stuff.
Well, I didn't study.
Okay, last time I checked, they should be in first place, Willie. They've been dominant all season.
Yeah, they've been way ahead. I was wondering, I'm just assuming they're still.
They are, if this will load, they are in first place. 2.5.
See, the
2.5 ahead of Columbus.
The lead's gone down a little bit, but yeah. So I'm hoping they hang on for a playoff spot. But you know how a roster can be rated at any point. Today.
Yeah, but it's not like it used to be.
Not like it used to be. The rosters do expand by 2 spots now, so you can go up to 28, so they can grab a couple guys. So we'll see.
But not the full 40. So
not the full 40.
Which
I do remember a Sounds team. This was years ago, probably late aughts, 08, 09, or
late aughts.
The Sounds had an unbelievable team for about half the year, and then the Brewers, I think it was the Brewers at the time, they took everybody, and they blew a huge lead. By the end of the year, they were not even in the playoff picture. But that's AAA baseball, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen Sounds teams that were awful for about half the year, and then all of a sudden they get some new guys and they catch fire. So 75 and 49, there's a good chance if you went to some Sounds games, you saw some good baseball.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. All right. Willie, set this up for us because this is your daily
this is my
AFC
theme.
South narrative.
The national narrative. We've talked about the Athletic. We've talked about the MMQB. In the coming days, you're going to see more of them. We talked about Tim Hasselbeck. Most people are picking the Colts. Now that the preseason is over, I think I would argue even more people are picking the Colts than they were in the summer. Would you agree with that? I think it was it's going to be between the Titans and the Colts. Now I hear a much more of a definitive, it's the Colts. Now, today's example, is the NFL Ringer. Now, this is the Bill Simmons series of podcasts, which I think is good. I mean,